Shalom to Roni Jory, father of Eliyahu Jory, IDF soldier who was killed in a tank accident.
Shalom.
So we're talking to you today just a few days, approximately a week after the conclusions of an investigative committee were published. Tell us about that first, please.
Well, we wanted to understand the story of what happened for a couple of reasons. One is we wanted to know if Eliyahu suffered, and it seems, Baruch Hashem, that he did not. And we wanted to understand the details of the story, because sometimes when you see the details of things, you can see more of the hashgachata prati. You know, you can see what Hashem was doing, and that it was min hashamayim, and you know, and that's really what we saw from the details of what happened, and the whole story of how things unfolded in the tank. This should have been a minor accident that resulted in little or no injuries, and the catastrophic outcome was something that, you know, in certain ways, lessons can't even be learned from it because it was so crazy.
Tell us, please, what you choose to tell us about the incident itself. What happened?
So basically, the first thing that happened is that they, you know, it was at night, and you know, one of the lessons that they learned from this was to increase the amount of training in the tank going at night to different places. That's one of the lessons that they learned from it. So there was an issue there in terms of the whole tank crew. They thought they were going in the right direction, but it turns out that they were not. And so the tank went down a steep incline. It fell into the riverbed, and that was a fall of about 3 meters or 3 or 4 meters or so, and really should not have resulted in what happened. The driver himself, which is Eliyahu's position, is the most protected. What happened actually is, it seems that Eliyahu lost consciousness from the impact, and the other 3 crew members were able to get out with almost no injuries from the impact. The injuries that what happened was, though, the fire, and that was really the thing that you know, caused all of the catastrophe.
And what are your feelings following the publication of these conclusions?
Look, all of the lessons that were learned pretty much were regarding what contributed to the fall of the tank, to the tank falling down. But this accident was kind of like you're driving in a parking lot and you bump into another car, and then your car blows up. Like, I mean, you can learn all the lessons that you want about how to not hit the other car, but the problem is that the car blew up. That the fire, which was caused by, you know, a piece of metal, went into a tank shell. It went through a tiny gap this big while the turret was turning. I mean, they're not even changing anything because of that, because it was such a crazy thing that never happened before, and they never expect it to happen again. Nothing's even being changed about that. That was just a crazy thing that came from Shamayim, and that's how it is. And because of that, there was the fire, and that's what burned the other soldiers. Eliyahu, in fact, was not burned, at least not in any significant way, but all of the oxygen was sucked up by the flame, by the fire extinguishing equipment, and so there was no oxygen. Now, normally, so Eliyahu was unconscious but breathing, and then there was no oxygen, and there was poison from the fumes of the gunpowder of the artillery shell. So then, normally, what happens is the engine is running, and it changes the air from the air that's inside the compartment to new air, because that's how it runs. But the engine got cut off, and there's not an exact explanation for why that happened. They think it has something to do with the incredible amount of heat caused by the flaming tank shell. So it was just, the fact that he was knocked unconscious, even though he was the most protected and everybody else wasn't knocked unconscious, even though they were less protected, and the fire and the engine, all of these things were very strange things, and all of them had to happen together in order to get this result.
Ronnie, as a parent of a soldier, there must be many fears regarding combat, regarding the battlefield. How is it when a tragedy like this, an accident, occurs? Is it different?
Well, I haven't experienced the other form, but I don't think that it would make very much difference. Our son is not with us anymore, and that's what's hard. Um, he died at Kiddush Hashem, and he was a Ben Aliyah, and he has a wonderful place in Olam Haba. But we miss him. We miss him very, very much. The only thing I would say is, the way it happened, it's a nechama that there's no one to hate about it. There's no one to hate. He wasn't killed by somebody. It wasn't anybody's fault, and that makes it, a different experience, I think, than if I had to have that kind of hatred for someone for killing my son.
And for those who aren't familiar, what can you tell us? What do you want that people will remember from Eliyahu?
Eliyahu was a kid, he was a young man. I mean, the sentence that I say about Eliyahu in terms of his relationship with other people is everybody always wanted to be with him because he always made it understood how much he wanted to be with them. He always made people feel loved and accepted and wanted, and because that's how he felt. And so everybody always everyone was drawn to him like a magnet. And he was just a wonderful young man, and he was very strong in his emunah, and he just always wanted to go up. He wanted to go up in his ruchniut and be closer to Hashem, and to be successful in Torah, even though it was difficult for him learning. He wasn't so successful, but he always wanted to, and he kept going, and even he joined a yeshiva like Shalabim, which is a very serious yeshiva, and that's where he wanted to be, and that's where he did his best, and we're just very proud of him, and in the end he got all of the kavod that he always deserved.
Now these days you're involved in commemorating Eliyahu of blessed memory. Tell us about that.
So there are a couple of things that are happening in terms of commemoration, and we're actually planning to do more in the future. But right now, his yeshiva Shalbim is raising funds to build a dormitory in his name, and his Beit Knesset, Ma'am Loez, is helping us to raise money to dedicate the Beit Midrash in his memory.
And where will this Beit Midrash, this house of Torah, be built?
The Beit Midrash will be in Keilat Ma'am Loez, which is in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph.
You have also an internet site telling his story.
Yeah, it's zichroneliyahu.org, and that's the website that's just talking about Eliyahu and his life, and it has things about the funeral and just what happened, and you can see from the pictures of the funeral all kinds of Jews, all kinds of Jews from all walks of life, and it was a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, his funeral and the Shiva, and it would have been something that he just would be amazed at all of the kavod that he's gotten in Olam Hazeh and in Olam Haba. The amount of help that we received, and the amount of people that came to the funeral and to the Shiva, Am Yisrael Chai, that's what's going on, and Baruch Hashem, we're one people.
Roni Jory, thank you very much for joining us. And as we say in Hebrew, the words of condolence, המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער אבלי ציון וירושלים, ולא תוסיפו לדאבה עוד.